Minnesota continues to be ground zero for the left's war against your deportation efforts. Just today, you saw the Department of Justice issue a number of subpoenas against Democratic officials there, Governor Tim Walz, the mayor of Minneapolis, and the Attorney General Keith Ellison. What is the status of Minneapolis, and what is your administration doing to ensure that your deportation efforts can continue in that city and around the country?
I think you have two problems. Number one, you have $19 billion worth of stolen money. At least. I think the number is going to be much higher. And you have that in California. You have it in other states also, I believe, when you go through it. So that's a big problem. And then you have the agitators, anarchists. You know, I watched sort of everything. I see it all. And I see people screaming, shame, shame. You know, this is not people that are like living in Minnesota. These are professional, paid people. They're like actors. I mean, I watched the guy last night in the church. He was, and not just Don Lemon. Don Lemon's a loser. But I watched the guy last night in the church. This guy's a professional guy, and he actually admits to it. He gets paid a lot of money to go and cause trouble. And you see that. What they don't see is that ICE gets rid of murderers, drug dealers, Tren de Aragua, I mean, the worst gang in the world, anywhere in the world, MS-13, Tren. But these are the worst gangs, and they get rid of them. They take them out. And I say, something's wrong when a place like Minnesota, which is a good place, it's got a horrible governor, it's got horrible people. This Ilhan Omar is horrible. I mean, she comes from a country that doesn't even have a government. They have nothing. And she comes here and she lectures us on the Constitution. She's got constitutional rights. She's just horrible. Somebody said she's worth $30 million. Well, therefore, she's obviously a very dishonest person, and she should be looked at for that. So you have a couple of things. You have the money thing, and then you have the all of the fake nonsense going on and screaming. The people, they're so professional. They hold their cameras up high, and it's a terrible thing going on in Minnesota.
Well, you've threatened to invoke the Insurrection Act if the governor did not get things under control. They clearly don't have things under control and don't seem to want to get them under control. You have these activists storming churches now, and they're still impeding these investigations of child sex offenders, murderers. At a press conference today at the White House, you held up a number of photos of the people that ICE has been deporting. The Insurrection Act would allow you, requires essentially that if federal law cannot be enforced, you can invoke it and it would allow it to be enforced. So where are you with that threat, and do you still think it's necessary?
I don't think it is yet. It might be at some point. It is actually very common. You know, with me, they'll make it like a big deal, but it's been used by over 40% of the presidents during their term. It's something I would have no problem doing if I think we needed it. We have great people in ICE. You know, they're strong people, they're smart people, and I don't think it's necessary yet. But, you know, I see they're building up like, oh, if he ever did that. Over 40% of the presidents used it. Some presidents used it actually many times. And it does make life a lot easier. You don't go through the court system. You don't, you know, it's just a much easier thing to do. But I don't think we need it at this point, and hopefully we won't need it. But I would not have any problem with invoking it if we needed it.
Well, as you pointed out, this is not just a problem in Minnesota. It's been a problem in Los Angeles and elsewhere. There's a new governor across the river in Virginia, Democrat Abigail Spanberger. The first thing she did when she came into office was repeal cooperation between ICE agents and local law enforcement. So what is your message or response to governors like her now deciding they're not going to work with ICE?
Well, I hope there are no problems, because if there are, she's not going to get it corrected very easily, and that's a bad signal. You know, that's not where the country is. The country doesn't want to see murderers and drug dealers and gang members and all coming from other countries and just stay in their area. Take a look at Washington, D.C. As you know better than anybody, it was very, very unsafe a year and a half ago, because now it's a year, so I have to go a little more than a year ago. But it was a very, very unsafe place, and now it's totally safe. It's a beautiful, I mean, people are walking with their kids to restaurants. They meet their husband at a restaurant. The restaurants were all closing. Now the restaurants are all opening. The place is beautiful. And you have good-looking, solid military people walking around. It's actually, I think it's almost like an enhancement. Everybody feels safe. Washington, D.C. is a different place. If you go to Well, it's happening in Louisiana, where you have, we put some of the security in Louisiana, go to Memphis, go to different places. I mean, wherever we put it, it's good. Now, even in Chicago, we got the crime down a little bit. We did just a little minor version of it, but we get no cooperation. Yeah. If I were a Democrat governor, I would say, boy, would I love to have Trump come in here so I could show some good numbers. But anywhere we go, everywhere we go, it's good. And by the way, the numbers are way down in Minnesota. If you go to Minnesota, the numbers are down because of us. But it's like pulling teeth.
Well, one of the first things that you did when you came into the White House for the second time is you signed the Laken Riley Act after Laken Riley was murdered by a criminal illegal alien here from Venezuela. Why do you think that Democrats are defending these types of people? What's the reasoning behind that?
Well, it's not only defending, it's like Laken Riley is, you mentioned the name and they don't even want to talk about it. You see it at State of the Union addresses. You introduce people there. Their young child was killed by a horrible human being, and the Democrats sit there and they won't clap, they won't acknowledge. The mother and father stand up, they're devastated, and the Democrats are just sitting there. They won't smile, they won't clap. There's something wrong with them. Maybe it's Trump derangement syndrome, but no, there's something wrong with them. You introduce a family whose child was just lost, and they're sitting there and they're just stone-faced. It's a meanness. They're a mean group of people.
You're on your way to Davos this week.
Right.
There's a lot of talk about Greenland, of course. European leaders are not so happy about your increased pressure to acquire Greenland. For the average American who maybe doesn't understand why the United States is pursuing this piece of property,
right.
What do you say to them? Why do we need Greenland?
It's located in such a place that is literally so important for national security. When you come to Russia, when you come to China, a lot of Chinese boats, a lot of Russian, ships, military ships. It's in a location that is very important for our national security and also for the international security of the world, literally. It's a very big piece of land. It's really cold, got a lot of ice on it. So it's not like we're going to build a nice real estate development or anything.
No golf course on Greenland?
Well, I don't see a golf course. You'd have to wear a lot of very heavy clothing. We're not going to set any records with golf, but I will tell you that it's very important to the United States. And as an example, we're building the Golden Dome, which we're going to have a dome over the country. If somebody wants to shoot missiles, it'll knock them out of the air like matchsticks. It'll go very nicely. It's amazing. Ronald Reagan wanted this many, many years ago. He was ahead of his time. But the problem is you didn't have equipment that worked. Today, the equipment is unbelievable. You've seen it. I mean, we can knock a missile coming at thousands of miles an hour. It's like, and you get literally 100% of them. Mm-hmm. The technology is so good. So we're building a Golden Dome, and having Greenland makes it a much more effective Golden Dome.
So you're saying Greenland is essential for the security of the United States and the free Western world for
correct.
The sake of missile defense.
That is correct.
And that's why we need Greenland.
That is correct. And even beyond missile defense, but it is so important for the Golden Dome. It's so important for just national and actually international security.
So the European Union has said that in response to your pursuit of Greenland, they will launch a, quote, trade bazooka at the United States. What do you think that means, and what is your response to Europe threatening some kind of trade war with the United States?
I don't think they know what it means, actually, but they already do trade bazookas. They fine our companies billions of dollars, like Apple and Google and lots of them, 15, 16, 17 billion dollars. And you shouldn't be doing that. We just signed a deal with them. And it's a good deal. It's a big deal. And had we not had tariffs, we wouldn't have been able to sign anything like it. But they need that deal. So I don't think they really know what a bazooka means. And, if see anything they do with us, I'll just meet it. If all I have to do is meet it, and it's going to go ricocheting backward. But we're not looking to that. We'll probably be able to work something out, possibly even during the next few days in Davos.
So looking back here at home domestically, last year you worked with Congress very closely, Republicans in charge of both the House and the Senate, and of course you're in the White House, and you worked with them on the big, beautiful bill. For 2026, especially in a midterm election year, what is your goal for Congress in terms of getting your agenda through? What is on the agenda? What expectations do you have for Congress?
Well, one of the things I'd like to do, you know, we pass so many executive orders. I have great executive orders that are really common sense and good and have, I mean, like water coming out of a sink. The water wouldn't come out. They had all sorts of ridiculous restrictions. I took all of that off. Coming out of the shower head, you'd stand under a shower, there's no water coming out. So I passed so many things like that, straws. They don't have to be paper anymore. They don't have to melt in your mouth. So I passed so many different things like that, and much more important things, but like that. They're important, the quality of life. And I'd like to have all of that confirmed by Congress if we can. And we've done a lot of it. We've done probably 35, 40%. I'd like to get them all confirmed, every one of them.
So you want your executive orders codified in law, so to speak?
Ideally, we get them codified, and we get them codified soon, yes.
So the mortgage rates are down in terms of the economy. Inflation has slowed. Gas prices are down. The budget deficit has been cut significantly by tariffs.
These are very good things, Katie.
What do you think the economy is going to look like now that the legislation from last year will be kicking in and the Biden agenda will be no longer in place?
So we have thousands of businesses being built right now. Because of tariffs, we've taken in so much money. And what's happened is, in order not to pay the tariff, they don't have to pay it. All they have to do is build their business here. So all over the world, they're coming in. They're building car plants, AI plants, massive buildings and small buildings, but literally thousands of them. We've never had anything like it. And you've seen that. $18 trillion is coming in. No country's ever been even close to that. And I think it's just going to be an explosion of success. I would be very surprised if it wasn't. There's never been anything like $18 trillion. You go back, if you see $2 trillion or $3 trillion, that's a lot. We're at 18, and by the way, that's through 11 months. I assume I'm going to add something for the last month, which was now we just finished our 12th month. So we're going to be over $18 trillion. There's never been anything like that in the history of our country.
So when you're talking to these companies who are investing in the United States, saying they're going to build new plants, how do you ensure that they continue that investment after you leave office? Similar to your executive orders getting codified by Congress, how do you ensure that those deals actually come through?
Well, once they build the plant, they're sort of here. You know, they're spending billions of dollars to build a plant. They're going to be here. That means, you know, they're not going anywhere. They can't put it on their back and bring it over to another country. So I think the big thing is to get it built now during my administration. And once they build, you know, they're building a building that costs $2 billion, $10 billion in some cases, and in some cases 50 and 60 billion, you know, the AI. And with AI, I'm letting them build their own electric plants so they can build the electric, because, you know, creating that kind of electricity for us. For China, okay, but we're beating China badly on AI. We're doing incredibly well. The approval process is going so quickly. You know, if you look at the approvals, it's such a big deal getting that. We have Lee Zeldin, who's done a fantastic job, but all of those houses in California that burned down, they had their approvals within 2 weeks, federal approvals. Federal approvals are tougher than the local approvals. Typically. We had everybody done in 2 weeks. The whole place is finished, ready to go. That was a year ago, more than a year ago. They don't have their state or their local approvals. The mayor has been unable, I guess the governor, I don't know if the governor's involved with it, but I think he is. And they have not been able to build their houses. It's a terrible thing.
As the U.S. moves into this AI race and you pursue more AI at home, you mentioned these electric plants. Are you interested in more nuclear as well, given that it seems AI is going to surpass the electricity production that the United States can produce on the timeline that AI is working on?
Well, AI is now going to make their own electricity, which is a beauty. I'm giving them a permit where they can make their own. They're going to make their own. They're going to become essentially a utility. They're going to make their own electricity, which is pretty amazing. And they're coming in with plants. You wouldn't believe it. You know, they're building these massive buildings, and the grid system, you know, can't handle that. We need double the electricity with all that's being built now. We need more than double the electricity that we have in the country now for everything. Think of that. Now, you can't do that unless they want to build their own plants. So we're giving approvals to build their own electric plants, and they're coming in with unbelievable electric plants. They're going to make their own electricity while they're building their plant. They're building an electric plant. That solves the problem.
You've had a goal for a long time to use tariff revenue to replace the income tax for Americans. Where are you in fulfilling that goal?
Well, I think if we can win this case, I think at some point in the not too distant future, it's an option. Or you can just make a lot of money and keep the money and spend it wisely and, you know, spend it on building the country, rebuilding and building the country. But no, I think the revenue will be such that we could, if we wanted, replace the income tax sometime in the not very distant future. You know, the income tax started in 1913. Until then, we had tariffs. Our country was the richest. If you go back to 1887, that was probably the single richest point that our country was ever in. And it was all tariff income. We didn't have an income tax. In 1913, they started with the income tax, and then you had a problem in 1929, a little thing called the Depression, which knocked the hell out of everyone. Then they tried bringing back tariffs a year later, 2 years later to save it, but it was gone. You'd say this sucker was gone. And, you know, had I not been elected, you would have had, in my opinion, this would have been Venezuela on steroids. And by the way, Venezuela's an amazing thing that just took place a couple of weeks ago.
Speaking of Venezuela, there was a weapon used, a sonic weapon, that took out many of the Cuban bodyguards that were used to defend Maduro. Lots of people saw the details about that weapon and were concerned. Is that something that Americans should be afraid of, something the United States is combating?
Yeah, it's something I don't want to, nobody else has it. We have weapons that nobody knows about. And I say it's probably good not to talk about them, but we have some amazing weapons. That was an amazing attack. Don't forget, that house was in the middle of a fort, an army base, a big one, a lot of soldiers, and they came in and they did their job. We lost nobody.
Do you feel like Maduro is going to make some kind of deal when it comes to the charges he's up against, to give you intelligence about what the Russians and Iranians have been doing in his country? Well,
I'm leaving that up to the Department of Justice. We'll see how it all goes. But look, he killed a lot of people. I mean, you look at what happened with the drugs. And he also was responsible, more than any other country, for emptying his jails, his mental institutions. Just emptied them out and brought them into the United States. And that's what we're talking when we talk about Minnesota, when we talk about all this crime stuff. We're getting rid of, Biden left us a mess. We're getting rid of the mess. He had open borders. He had an open border policy. So Maduro came in and let all of his criminals into the United States because of Biden's open border. They didn't even question. They'd look at some people, they say, they're criminals. I don't want to get into it. They'd say, they're criminals. And it's, come on in.
Yeah.
And what we're doing is getting them out. And believe me, it takes a big part of my time. This was a self-imposed error. This was just a terrible. What they did to this country can never be forgotten. He was the worst president. And what Biden did, and, you know, it's the people that use the auto pen, you can call it a lot of different things. But he was surrounded by people, the beautiful Resolute desk in the Oval Office, which I'll show you right after this.
Oh,
but it's beautiful, but it was surrounded by radical left lunatics. And what they did to this country can never be forgotten. They let in millions of criminals. You know, you have probably 25 million people that were let into this country. And no checking, no vetting, no anything. Many of them came from prisons. Many of them came from mental institutions, gang members, drug dealers. They just let them into our country.
Yeah.
And I've got to get them out.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.